Right, next up in our lightning round, we have Karen Mier. She is here from Nebraska, one of our first Nebraska library on the schedule, Plattsmouth Public Library, and she's going to talk about this great easy group calendars that they use in their town. So go ahead and take it away, Karen.
Thank you, Krista. I wanted to give you a little bit of a background. We have felt the need for a community calendar for a number of years. People thought that there's should be a better way to be able to know what's going on in the community, not have any conflicts between what you're scheduling and what another group might schedule as well. The community calendar has been something in our minds for a while. Our city administration felt that they did not want to go that route to begin with, first of all because they thought it would be too much time on the part of the library to manage it, and the other part being that they felt that they might get blamed, the city could get blamed for not having entries in there or having information incorrect. During our strategic planning process last year, this was again identified as a high priority for the community. We had discussed it and identified it as a priority pretty much the next day. I met with the Main Street Association director who had discovered teamup.com. We did end up using the teamup.com. I'm not a salesperson for them, and actually they do have a lot of free services, but I do want to show you what we did for our community calendar. The default that I have identified is the monthly view, so you can see that each color represents a different organization. That is just simply just to make it a little bit more visible. There are dozens of colors that the administrator can choose from. In addition, we have identified on the side panel a website link for all the groups that had websites. That way, if somebody wanted more information about that organization, they can easily find it. We did sort of weigh whether we use phone numbers, web addresses, and we did end up with just linking to their web addresses. Each entry has a little bit of brief information. If you hover over any of them, they will provide additional information. You'll notice that this access actually says reader, and we'll talk a little bit about the difference on that. To add an event, very easy. Just click on the date for the event that you want. A small web screen shows up. When you click the More button, it does allow you to indicate that it repeats. You can say that it's always on the first Monday, on the 15th of the month. Very easy to schedule repeating events. You can format the fonts a little bit. You can put links in, so it is real convenient to add the information, add some details if you want to. The calendar has a number of different views, and you can see that there are several different views up here.
Karen, can I just jump in just for a second? A couple of people missed. What is the calendar program that you're using here?
It's from teamup.com.
Teamup.com, that's what I thought. So yes, someone asked, was the website? Yeah, teamup.com is the one that this is. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. The calendars allow you to identify or choose to only show one calendar, so if you want to concentrate on one organization, you can, or to show all of them. So this is actually after having chosen to show only the library's calendar. The other views that you can have, you can see a day calendar, which lets you get a little bit more outlay of what's going on during the day. The public view for the agenda, and the list is very, very similar, is you can actually see several days, and you can see the details with it. You can also hide the details if you choose to. This little button on the side is going to show up in a second. So I did want to point that out before I move past it. The scheduler view is really interesting if you are particularly going to use this as a calendar for your staffing time. So each of these where we have organizations, you could have staff person 1, 2, 3. You could have meeting rooms 1, 2, 3, projectors 1, 2, 3, screens. Anything you can think of. There's a lot of different uses for these calendars where you could actually get this going on a very simple level, and it does allow you to have 10 calendars for free. So we'll get into that a little bit more. There is a print notification, so here's that settings button that I mentioned. The printing, you can print any events. You can set up notifications asking, putting in your email address, identifying when you want changes to be sent to you. You can specify for specific calendars only, multiple calendars, new events, all changes, all of those different options are available. The daily agenda allows you to put in an email address and say, I'd like the next day's worth of events, 2 days. If you're going to use this as a staffing calendar or as a booking calendar for scheduling rooms and such, it's going to be really helpful if you email this to a staff person. They can prepare the rooms, prepare the equipment so that it's ready to go for whatever is needed. We have personalized it. We have given a logo. It is basically the sign that you see on the entrance to town. We thought that was a nice little representation for the entire community. You can identify colors, different schemes. Each calendar we identified, we sat down and said, here are the major players in town, and we want to make sure that they are represented and can enter their own events. Once we identified those, we actually said we felt like there were a couple more, so we ended up going to 12 calendars instead of the free 10 ones. This basically indicates that they're active, identifies the color that we've chosen for them, and we can edit the information that they have available. Each time that you create a calendar for an event, for an organization, for a person, a booking room or whatever, it will give a specific URL that identifies the editing capability for that organization. So I have, when I set up each organization, I send them 2 web addresses. One, I emphasize this is for your way to add and edit your own events. Then I give them a second address that is just the reader access. So they can put that one on their website and publicize it to everybody else. But there is one that identifies that they can make changes to that calendar. We can set up permissions in a number of different ways. What we have for the most part is each organization is responsible for their own calendars and no one else's. There is one person who actually handles multiple organizations, so I have identified that they can modify 2 different calendars. For myself as the administrator, I can modify anyone's and I can set up read-only for anybody who I don't want to have access to the other calendars. So most are set up to modify their own and read-only everybody else's. The advantage of us being an administrator for all of them, or being able to modify all of them, are for the cases where someone says that the meeting starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 8 a.m. the next day, which is usually just a typo. So I go in and correct those as I need to. Now, as I mentioned, the teamup.com does allow you to add up to 10 sub-calendars. So if you have 10 rooms, 10 staff, that's free. And it's always available to you, and they archive it for a year. If you go a little further, which we did, we decided to go up to 12 sub-calendars. That put us into the category of paying $8 a month. $96 a year was an easy dollar amount for the library to absorb. It gave us a little bit more flexibility to have a couple of other organizations in there to make their own changes. So we were doing little bits of work, not a lot of work for all the different organizations. You do get more flexibility, more sub-calendars with the higher levels. We have not felt like that was something that we needed. On the teamup.com website, there are some comparisons so that you can see that almost all of the features are available across the board. File uploading is not available under the lower ends. Password protection, because every URL for each calendar is unique and can be modified with permissions. We don't feel that password protection was needed, so it's not on ours. As I mentioned, the free one doesn't have the daily agenda, but the list view is almost identical. So in my opinion, that's not a really big problem. That's it in a nutshell. I wanted to give people an opportunity to ask questions, so I do have my information available if you would like to call or email me with additional questions that we don't get to during the session.
Great, thanks, Karen. This is a very cool calendar program here. I really like it. We actually had someone before a week or two ago who actually had emailed me and saw this on the agenda and said already they learned something that, oh, this is it, because it said in the description it was teamup.com. I've already found something I want to know more about on your conference. So we did have a few questions, but you had answered a lot of them, like the cost and how it's accessible and whatnot. Do you know if it works with WordPress?
I did not look that up to see if what kind of compatibility it is. It does have the ability to import calendars. I believe it's definitely, I'm pretty sure it said it was, you could import from Google calendars. I don't remember if there were additional calendars or compatibility that they had mentioned.
Yeah, or about exporting it out to other things like WordPress. Someone else wants to know, can this calendar or somehow can it be shared into Facebook or other social media?
The sharing, there's one part that I did not actually show underneath the notifications section. There is one for feeds as well.
Oh,
I
okay,
did not
great.
do a print screen on that one.
So it can do that if it wants to, yeah.
Yes.
So how does the community actually access it? They just go to normally just go to each organization's page and finds theirs there, or is there one like group one somewhere hosted as well? Like, is there a main place to go?
When we signed up the organizations, we encouraged them to put them on their own pages. So
Right.
the one under the other category is a number of churches. It's on the city's website, it's on the library's website, it's on the Main Street Association's website, and it's on the community at the Chamber of Commerce's website. So we're trying to just make sure everybody who has a potential interest in it freely posts that reader version.
Absolutely makes sense. All right, thank you very much, Karen. That was great.